Hey, what's up everybody? So I got a comment from a viewer to do a more in-depth explanation of how the Marincess deck works. The actual functioning pieces, like what your combo pieces are, what your extenders are, what your search targets do, and yeah, and then we're going to jump into a couple of combos. Anyway, this is Marincess. Alrighty, so to start things off, we are going to go over the main deck portions of the Marincess deck. I did just do a deck list profile on this post the ban list of April 2025. And yeah, we're just going to go over a couple of the pieces. Like I said, we had a viewer comment that they wanted to see more or have the deck explained. Anyway, so we're going to start off with Marincess Blue Tang. This is going to be the best one card combo starter of the deck. You want to see this card in hand, so most of the time you are going to run 3 copies. She does have 2 different effects. So the first one being, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can send one Marincess monster from your deck to the graveyard, except for Marincess Blue Tang, so she can't send herself. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a link summon of a water monster, you can evac the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, add one evacuated Marincess card to your hand, and then shuffle the rest into your deck. And then you can only use each effect of Blue Tang once per turn. So normally what you're going to do is you're going to normal summon her, and then you are going to send off Marincess Spring Girl. Then when you link off into your Blue Slug will add the Spring Girl back to hand. We will explain the rest of that when we get to it. I am just going to go over the rest of these cards and then we'll get into that a little bit more. Marincess Seahorse, she is also a really good one card combo, especially after losing Bahamut Shark. Before, I didn't like her because she was a level 3, but the fact is now she is, since we don't have Bahamut, we're not going into our rank 4s as much. She is going to be a really good combo starter. So again, we are going to run 3 copies of her. She is full combo on her own. So you can special summon this card from your hand to a zone that a Marincess Link monster points to. You can only special summon her once per turn this way, and then during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from the graveyard, special summon one water monster from your hand to a zone that a Marincess Link monster points to. So you do need to have a Link monster on the field to utilize her effect to its fullest. Next, we have Marincess Spring Girl. You can banish one Marincess monster from your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a link summon of a water monster, you can send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard equal to the number of Marincess monsters you control. Then, if a Marincess card was sent to the graveyard by this effect, inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent for each Marincess card sent. It is a good time card. You can inflict burn damage going first. Next is going to be the new card, which is Trickstar Aqua Angel. Trickstar Aqua Angel is in herself also full combo. The problem is she is once per duel. If she wasn't once per duel on both of her effects, then she would be a 3-of as well. In this case, I'm going over my 2-ofs. So our 3-ofs are going to be Seahorse and Blue Tang, Spring Girl, Aqua Angel, and then Pascalis are going to be our 2-ofs. Anyway, once per turn. So any link monster that points to this card cannot be destroyed by battle. You can use the following effects of her once per duel. If you control a Trickstar or a Marincess monster, you can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard as link material, you can look at all cards your opponent's hand and all set cards they control. So it is nice to get knowledge, and then she is a free body for when you already have a monster on field. So normally what you would do, again, is we'll get into the combo portion of this after the fact. And then for our last 2-of, it's going to be Marincess Pascalis. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon one Marincess monster from your hand in defense position, except for Pascalis. And then during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard and target one Marincess spell or trap in your graveyard and add it to your hand. The fact that she can't special summon herself when she is normal summoned makes her a 2-of. You don't want to see multiple copies of Pascalis for sure in your hand. And then our last Marincess monster is going to be Marincess Mandarin. She has the same effect of Seahorse. The only difference is she can also special summon from the graveyard. but it requires you to have 2 link monsters, and she can special summon to a zone that one of them points to. So she is an extender and a 1 of. I see some people run this as a 2 of, but I don't want to see this card most of the time. It isn't a bad discard, and we'll get into the discard portion of this with our extension engines and stuff. So that is going to be all of our Marincess monsters. If you want to see the ratios and stuff, I will be talking about that in this video, but you can look at the full deck list in my other video, which is down in the comments section down below. Moving on to the Marincess spells, we have Marincess Battle Ocean. All Marincess monsters you control gain 200 attack. Also, each one gains 600 attack for each Marincess card equipped to it. Monsters you control in the extra monster zone that were link summoned using Marincess Crystal Heart as material are unaffected by your opponent's card effects. And then when you link summon a Marincess monster to the extra monster zone, except during the damage step, you can equip up to 3 Marincess link monsters with different names from your graveyard to that linked monster, to that link summon monster. Next, we have Marincess Dive. This is basically a monster reborn unless you control Battle Ocean. If you control Battle Ocean, you can special summon one from deck instead of the graveyard. This card is also just once per turn. And then once you activate Marincess Dive, you are locked into waters. So that is a very important thing. If you are able to activate this card, it locks you into water, which makes a card in our extra deck live. For our Marincess traps, we do run Marincess Wave. If you control a link summon monster, target one face-up monster your opponent controls, negate that face-up monster's effects until the end of this turn. So it's an imperm. Then, if you control a link 2 or higher Marincess monster, all face-up monsters you currently control are unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of this turn. So it protects. It's an unaffected every monster that you control. Then if you control a link 3 or higher monster, you can activate this card from your hand. So you want to have a Marincess link 3 monster in hand so that we don't have this on the field to get destroyed by something along the lines of Harpy's Feather Duster. Moving on to one extender that we run, it's going to be Silent Sea Nettle. Silent Sea Nettle has the effect that when you control a water monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but you cannot special summon monsters except for waters for the rest of the turn. So again, we're going to get us that water lock, which makes our extra deck live for certain effects. And then you can also banish this card from the graveyard and then target up to 3 water monsters in your graveyard and shuffle them into the deck. That is really good for getting our extra deck monsters back into our extra deck on turns 3 and turns 5. Or potentially turns 4 and turn 6, just depending on if we're going first or second. For the first card, this is just to help make sure that our combos go through, and that's going to be a copy of Deep Sea Minstrel. So Deep Sea Minstrel allows you to discard this card and 1 water monster, look at your opponent's hand, and banish 1 card from their hand face up until the end phase. So this is really good to get hand knowledge, not to mention we can remove some pesky hand traps that could interrupt our combo, or potentially something like Nibiru, which can completely clear our board. Our whole point is to get unaffected big monsters, big towers on the field. And if they nib us before that, we're not going to be able to complete that combo. So Deep Sea Minstrel is going to be our first card. It does require you to discard a water, and a lot of these effects are requiring you to discard a water monster for their effect. So that's where things can get a little tricky, and you need to be able to get as many waters to hand as possible. I have thought about running things like Pot of Desires in here as well. Just as another option to get more cards into hand. For our first little engine, it's going to be Icejade, Ran, and Green. This is going to get us a Synchro 10 to the field, and we have 2 really good targets for this. There are more and different options that we can run, but for now we are just running these 2 different copies of water monsters in our extra deck. So First is going to be the Icejade Ran and Green. You discard a water monster to special summon herself and a level 3 non-tuner token, and then she is a level 7 tuner. So it allows us to synchro off into a 10 to get our stuff going from the beginning. She has some other Icejade related effects. But she does lock you into water monsters from the extra deck as well. And then our Icejade Cradle, we can search one Icejade monster from our deck to our hand with a different name than the cards you control and in your graveyard. Cradle can become dead later. The nice thing is if you open up both, you can activate the Cradle before you go Angreen, search out your second copy of Angreen, and then use the second one as your discard for the first one to get that part going. Next is going to be our only route to Totally Awesome at this point, since we no longer have access to Bahamut Shark, which this deck used to use primarily to get our Omni Negate on the field, and that is going to be Swap Frog, Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier, and Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier. With Swap Frog, you discard a water monster to special summon him, and then when he is summoned, you can send an Aqua monster from our deck to the graveyard. So we will go ahead and send our Mirror Mage, and then Mirror Mage effect, when she is sent to the graveyard, you can add a Ice Barrier spell or trap from our deck to our hand. In that case, we're going to add the Freezing Chains. Then we activate the Freezing Chains to special summon back the Mirror Mage and then overlay into our copy of Totally Awesome. That is going to wrap it up for our main deck monsters and their effects. Then we're going to move on to our extra deck. So first we have Marincess Blue Slug. Blue Slug requires a level 4 or lower Marincess monster. If this card is link summoned, you can target one Marincess monster in your graveyard except for Blue Slug, add it to your hand. Also, then you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except for water monsters, again locking us into waters. Next we have Marincess Sea Angel. Sea Angel has the effect that, again, it requires a level 4 or lower Marincess monster, and then if this card is link summoned, you can add one Marincess spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You can only link summon her once per turn. Blue Slug does also have that same effect, so both of these are once per turn summons. Next, we have Marincess Coral Angel. This is going to be our first link 2. She requires 2 water monsters. So any 2 water monsters, which is very important that it's not Marincess, so we can use other things to go into her. You can target one water monster with 1500 or less attack in your graveyard, special summon it to a zone this card points to, and then you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for water monsters. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one Marincess card in your graveyard except for an enemy and then add it to your hand, and you can only use each effect once per turn. This is very important, the fact that we can add any special summon any water monster with 1500 or less attack. Considering all of our main deck monsters have 1500 or less attack, the closest ones are going to be Icejade, Ran, and Green, and our Blue Tang, which both are directly at that 1500 attack mark. And then Angreen being our highest defense of 2500 defense. Next, we have Marincess Crystal Heart. The effects of this monster being in the extra monster zone doesn't come up very much. Usually we're going to be using this to link off into something else. She can be used as a turn, like if we don't have much resources, we can go into her and then potentially get to another turn because unaffected by your opponent's monster's effects while it's in the extra monster zone. During the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, that opponent's monster is unaffected by card effects except its own. And then when this card or your Marincess Link monster this points to is targeted for an attack, you can send one Marincess card from your hand to the graveyard. For that battle, you cannot take... That monster cannot be destroyed by battle, and you take no battle damage. So it can potentially save you for a turn and get you to another turn, but I wouldn't rely on that. We're going to try to get her as a link material for something. Marbled Rock is going to be our first link 3. You can target one Marincess card in your graveyard except for Marbled Rock. Add it to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. And then when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send one Marincess monster from your hand to the graveyard for that battle. Monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no battle damage. So this is going to have the same effect as Crystal Heart, but it doesn't need to be in the extra monster zone. That isn't as important because usually when she's on the field, it's going to be into the extra monster zone. The nice thing is her effect to add one back from the graveyard is not a quick effect or a non-summon effect. It's just an activated effect, so we can start a chain with that, let everything resolve, and then activate her effect to get something, start a new chain. For our next Link 3, it's going to be Marincess Coral Triangle, and our Marincess Coral Triangle allows us to discard one water monster from your hand to the graveyard, add one Marincess Trap from our deck to our hand. And again, that Marincess Trap is going to be Marincess Wave, and then this is a Link 3, so she does meet the qualifications for Marincess Wave to be able to activate from hand. For our Link 4s, we have Marincess Aqua Argonaut. Aqua Argonaut, while this card is in the extra monster zone, your opponent cannot target any monsters except for this one for an attack. And then you can use the following effects of Argonaut once per turn. You can target one water monster you control and one card your opponent controls, return them to the hand, and then during your opponent's turn, when a spell or trap is activated on the field, quick effect, you can special summon one Marincess monster equipped to this card, and if you do, negate that activated effect. So we will get an additional body on field and a spell and trap negate on our opponent's turn. Next, we have Marincess Great Bubble Reef. Once per turn during each standby phase, you can banish one water monster from your graveyard face up field and then draw a card. So it can potentially draw us into a hand trap. And then also each time your monster is banished face up this turn, this card gains 600 attack for each until the end of this turn. And then you can send one water monster from your hand to the graveyard, special summon one of your banished Marincess monsters. So she gets really big. She's going to be our biggest towers, but not necessarily our most effective. Our most effective is going to be the Aqua Argonaut. Usually what I'm going to do with Bubble Reef, if I don't directly need her, I'm going to use her to go into World Sea Dragon Zealantis. After we're waterlocked and trying to break our opponent's board, we go into Bubble Reef and then link her off for Zealantis. We're locked into waters. We banish all cards on the field and then special summon them back. But we can only special summon water monsters. And the monsters that are banished, most of the time are not going to be water unless we're playing against a water deck. So it is, and water decks are few and far in between. So World Sea Dragon Zealantis usually gets its effect. And we clear our opponent's board at essentially no cost to us. Moving on to our Synchro monsters, we have one copy of Icejade Gamir Ag Green. This card gives us the ability that, quick effect, you can activate this effect. Face-up monsters you control cannot be destroyed or banished by your opponent's card effects this turn. Then if you activated this effect in response to a card or effect activation, and your opponent has cards with that name on the field and or graveyard, you can banish those cards. If this card is banished by your opponent's card effect, if a card is banished by your opponent's card effect while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card. So she recurs herself anytime your opponent banishes something using an effect. Not to mention, she has protection from banish and destruction of our stuff. And then if we are able to get to the Marincess Wave, we can also make her unaffected. Next, we have a copy of Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Che Ying. Che Ying gains 100 attack and defense for each banished card, and then our opponent monsters lose 100 attack and defense for each banished card. This would be the reason to run Pot of Desires if you were going to, because he can get really big really fast. Not to mention, if a card is banished while he's on the field, we get a banish on field and a banish in graveyard. So those are going to be our two powerful Synchro 10s to go into. We are only running 5 copies of and green essentially in the main deck, so we only need 2 targets. Usually we're going to start off by going into the Icejade, and then to finish up or break boards or basically go for game, we're going to go into Che Ying. Then for our Link monster or our Xyz monsters, we run number 4 Stealth Kraken and Stealth Kraken Spawn. So all face-up monsters on the field become water. Once per turn during the main phase quick effect, you can destroy 1 water monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the attack it had on the field. If this XYZ summon card is destroyed, you can special summon 1 Stealth Kraken Spawn from your extra deck up to the number of materials this card had. Then you can attach up to 1 water monster from your graveyard for each of those summoned monsters as material. So potentially you could run 2 copies of Spawn, and then when this gets destroyed, you special summon out 2, and then you put a material on each one of them. Stealth Kraken Spawn, once per turn during the main phase, quick effect, you can destroy 1 water monster your opponent controls. If this card is special summoned by the effect of a number Xyz monster is destroyed, you can special summon other Stealth Kraken monsters from your graveyard up to the number of materials this card had. Then you can attach 1 water monster from your graveyard to each of those special summon monsters as material. So basically, if you ran 2 copies of Spawn, you can go Kraken. When Kraken gets destroyed, you special out 2 Spawn, let 1 Spawn die, and then when the second Spawn dies, you special summon 2 back, or you special summon 1 back. You special summon back the Stealth Kraken. Or you can go Stealth Kraken. When it gets popped, special the 1 Spawn. When that Spawn gets destroyed, special summon the Stealth Kraken. When the Stealth Kraken gets destroyed, you special summon out your 3rd Spawn. So, a couple different ways to go about it, but the nice thing is it does burn damage to our opponent. It is a rank 4. It's water-based. They aren't the strongest, most powerful cards out there, but it is nice. It'll keep a rank 4 on our field for the most part, and then also it does have a destruction once per turn. And then last is going to be our copy of Totally Awesome, which is an Omni Negate, and then whatever it negates, it'll set to our field. Obviously, if the card can't be set like a Link monster, it would just go to the graveyard, but yep. So that is our main deck and our extra deck explained, and then I'm going to move into some combos. So the first one I want to talk about is going to be that Marincess Blue Tang. You go ahead and normal summon Marincess Blue Tang. Blue Tang will go ahead and send our copy of Spring Girl to the graveyard. Then you link off the Blue Tang. Blue Tang will go into Blue Slug. I was taught this a long time ago. If you open up Blue Slug, it's Blue Slug or Blue Tang into Blue Slug, and then any other ones, you're gonna want to go Sea Angel. So with the combos and how they work out, I was told Blue Slug or Blue Tang into Blue Slug, Seahorse into Sea Angel. This doesn't always need to be the case, because in some situations, if for some reason Seahorse was the only Marincess monster that you opened up, you can go Seahorse, normal summon Seahorse, link off the Seahorse for Blue Slug adds back the Seahorse, and then you special summon the Seahorse to the zone that they point to, and then you can link that off into your Sea Angel and then get your Monster Reborn, special summon it back, link those 2 off for our link 2, which is going to be Anemone, and then Anemone effect to special summon back the Seahorse. We can link for another 2 for our Crystal Heart, and then we would have searched the field spell off of our Sea Angel, and then we would link these off and go into our Argonaut. And then field spell effect, we will equip 3 from our graveyard, Anemone, Crystal Heart, and then Sea Angel, since we run an additional copy in our extra deck for that. So now we have a Spell and Trap negate. It's 4,300 attack unaffected. So the biggest struggle with the deck is that if the field spell gets popped, we're kind of SOL. That's why I started going with the Icejade route to get the protection from destruction and banish with our Icejade extra deck Synchro 10. Anyway, I'm going to continue with that Blue Tang combo. So you go Blue Tang, send the Spring Girl, link off the Blue Tang, go into Blue Slug, chain 1, Blue Tang, chain 2. We're going to mill 3 off the top of our deck. Obviously, I had these all separated, so there have been times because I don't run a pure Marincess deck that I don't hit a Marincess card, but we can add any of those Marincess to our hand. We'll just add the Mandarin as a representation of a discard or something along those lines. Then we will get Blue Slug effect to return the Spring Girl to our hand. Then we can activate the Spring Girl, banish the Blue Tang to special summon the Spring Girl. Then link off the Spring Girl into our Sea Angel. Sea Angel will search us our copy of the field spell. Then we can activate the field spell, even though we're not going to use its effect yet. We're going to link these. If you do open up Mandarin or something along those lines and you have a way to get this to the field, the one that you drew, you can special summon it to a zone it points to. But we'll pretend that we couldn't. We'll link those two off. Go into our Anemone. Anemone effect. We'll special summon one back from the graveyard. We'll special summon our Spring Girl. We'll link these off. Go into our copy of Marbled Rock. Marbled Rock will add one from our graveyard back to our hand. Anemone will add one from our graveyard back to our hand. I like to add the Spring Girl back. And then you can go Marbled Rock effect to send the Anemone back. If you didn't use the Battle Ocean. The problem with this combo is unless you hit something like Mandarin that can special summon itself to a zone that one of our two required link monsters points to, you're basically going to be ending on the Marbled Rock, and then you can equip 2 to it, but you will have discards to protect your Marbled Rock and get you to another turn. The other option would be when if you had the Mandarin. With the Mandarin, you are still going to get to your Argonaut. So, same exact combo. We had that and that. This was engraved. You activate Mandarin, special summon it. You'll link these two off. Go into your Anemone. Anemone will special summon back your Spring Girl. And then you link these two off. Go into your Crystal Heart. And then you link those two off. Go into your Argonaut, field spell effect, equip 3 from the grave. So ultimately, you will need a second card, but the nice thing is with the Blue Tang, you're going to be able to mill the 3 and potentially get that. If not a monster, something that could get you to the monster, like a dive or something along those lines. But yep, so those are the Marincess main combos. I will show you the Trickstar one as well. It's very similar to the Seahorse line. The problem, again, lies whereas this card is once per duel. So anyway, you will normal summon the Aqua Angel, link off the Aqua Angel into our Blue Slug. Actually, in this case, if you do open the Aqua Angel, I would actually recommend going for the Sea Angel here. Then Sea Angel effect will add either the field spell or the dive. In this case, I would recommend adding the dive. Activate the dive to special summon back the Aqua Angel. You can link those two off. Go into your Anemone. Anemone effect to special summon back your Aqua Angel. Link those off. And then you can go into your Triangle. Triangle effect you will need a discard for. So, but Anemone, when she hits grave for going into Triangle, let's see, is it on effect? So this is an activated effect, not an on-summon effect. So when an enemy is used to go into Triangle, you go Triangle effect to add the Aqua Angel back. And then Triangle effect, discarding the Aqua Angel, which will add us the wave. And then you can activate Aqua Angels once per duel effect to summon. And then you can synchro those off. And in this case, this is when I would go into a Bubble Reef, because we're going to be able to banish and get a draw and potentially have more for our next turn. Anyway, that is the combo with Aqua Angel. The last one would be Marincess Pascalis, and Pascalis will require you to have 2 monsters. So we'll go with Spring Girl just because Blue Slug is too easy. Like having the Blue Slug and Pascalis is actually really good as long as the Pascalis doesn't get impermed. But you go ahead and normal summon the Pascalis. Pascalis effect will special summon the Spring Girl. We'll link off the Pascalis and go into our copy of Sea Angel. And then Sea Angel effect will add us the field spell. Then we can link off the Spring Girl and the Sea Angel and go into our Anemone. Anemone effect will special summon one back from the grave, special summon back the Spring Girl, and then we'll link those two off and go into our Marbled Rock. Then we activate Anemone effect. When used for a link summon, we will add the Spring Girl back to hand. Then, since we have 2 copies of Sea Angel in our extra deck, if you watch the deck profile I made, we can activate Spring Girl, banish the Aqua Angel, special summon the Spring Girl, activate the field spell, link off for a 4, which will give us our Argonaut, and then we'll equip up to 3 from our graveyard. In this case, we're only going to get 2, so this is quite a bit of a weaker board by not having the Blue Slug or the Blue Tang in hand. But again, all of these are either 1 or 2 card combos or 1.5 card combos by having the main combo starter and then a discard. So you are usually starting your turn going to have 5 cards in total. So you will have additional resources and extenders and things along those lines. So just to give you a quick example, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle these up real quick. Alrighty guys, so we are just going to go ahead and mill 5 off the top of the deck. So this is an interesting hand because we don't have any of our Marincess cards, so we're going to have to access them. So from here, I think the first thing that we can do is go ahead and activate our copy of Swap Frog, discarding the Spooky Dogwood to special. Effective Swap Frog on summon will send our copy of Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier to the graveyard, and then Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier will add us the Freezing Chains, and then we activate the Freezing Chains, special summoning back the Mirror Mage. Then from here, we're going to overlay these 2 and go into our copy of Totally Awesome. So we have an Omni Negate to protect our combos, and mind you, we have not used our normal summon yet. From here, we can activate Icejade Cradle, discarding, or actually no discard yet. Activate our Icejade Cradle, which will add us our Icejade Ran and Green. And then we can activate our copy of Icejade Ran and Green, discarding our Gamma Seal to special summon herself and a level 3 non-tuner token. And then we will go ahead and synchro off into a 10. If we're going first, going into that Gamir Agreen is actually really good. Just to give us protection of her, we are going to have an Omni Negate plus protection from destruction or banish. And then we'll also be able to banish an additional card of our opponents. And then if our opponent banishes a card if she does get removed from the field and our opponent banishes a card while she's in the graveyard, she will special summon back. So without any Marincess cards, this isn't a crazy board by any means, but we have an Omni Negate, protection, and we're probably getting to an additional turn. We will go ahead and shuffle up and then give you one more test hand. Just 5 cards off the top. Play with what we got. See if we can get some Marincess cards out of this one. So this shows that the Synchro 10 is actually really accessible, and that is good for us. We do also have an amazing combo starter with the Blue Tang. So anyway, we are going to go ahead and start off by activating our Icejade Cradle because that card becomes dead once we have used one of our Icejade Ran and Green, we'll go ahead and get our third copy of Ran and Green from our deck. We will activate Icejade Ran and Green in hand, discarding 1 to special herself and a level 3 non-tuner token, and then we will synchro off into a 10. That is going to be our Icejade, Gamir, and Green. And then we can go ahead and proceed with our Blue Tang combo. We'll go ahead and normal summon Blue Tang. Blue Tang effect will send a copy of Spring Girl from our deck to the graveyard. Then we are going to link off the Blue Tang going into our copy of Blue Slug. It'll be Blue Slug 1, Blue Tang 2. Blue Tang will go ahead and mill 3 cards off the top of our deck. And then we will add 1 Marincess card from it to our hand. We did get an additional copy of Blue Tang. Again, Blue Tang is once per turn, so that doesn't help us out too much. And then Blue Slug will add 1 from our graveyard back to our hand, so we will add the Spring Girl. Then we'll activate Spring Girl effect, banishing the Blue Tang to special summon the Spring Girl. Then we can link off the Spring Girl and go into our copy of Sea Angel. It'll be Sea Angel 1, Spring Girl 2. We will mill 2 cards off the top of our deck because we control 2 Marincess. So we will get a Seahorse and a copy of Dive to the graveyard. And then our opponent will burn for 400 life points. And then we will resolve our search for Sea Angel, which will add us a copy of Battle Ocean. Then from here, we're going to link these 2 off, go into our Anemone. Anemone effect will target 1 in graveyard and add it and special summon it. We will target the Spring Girl, special summon the Spring Girl, and then we will link for a 3. Here you can go Coral Triangle. That's actually a really good play. If for some reason, because we only run the 1 copy of Anemone, you want to get the Anemone back, you have to go the Marbled Rock route. But just for fun, we're going to go Coral Triangle. Coral Triangle effect doesn't activate yet, but Anemone effect, when sent to the graveyard, will add us our copy of Seahorse back to hand. Then we can activate our copy of Battle Ocean, and then we'll activate Coral Triangle effect, discarding the Blue Tang to add us the copy of Wave. Then we can special summon our Seahorse to a zone that a Marincess monster points to. Then we can link these off into a 4, which we will go into that Aqua Argonaut. Battle Ocean effect will equip 3 from our graveyard to her as a material. We can equip the Coral Triangle, the Sea Angel, and our Anemone. If for some reason we went the other route and went into Marbled Rock, we would have shuffled the Anemone back, so in that case we would have just equipped the Blue Slug instead. It's not going to matter as much. It is nice to have Blue Slug in graveyard if for some reason we need to shuffle it back, since we only run 1 copy of it. So 2 past turn at this point, we have Aqua Argonaut, which is a spell and trap negate, and then she's the only monster they can attack. Currently, she has 4,300 attack. She is affected, though, because we did not use Crystal Heart to go into her. However, we do have the Marincess Wave in hand, so at any point we can negate something of our opponents and make our monsters unaffected. If for some reason before that happens, we were to get hit with something like a Raigeki, we can chain our Gamir Ag Green, make all of our monsters protected from destruction or banish this turn. If we were to get with a Harpy's Feather Duster, that's usually going to be the most detrimental because our Battle Ocean will leave the field. And then our equipped spells will leave the field as well. The nice thing is, though, Aqua Argonaut is a spell and trap negate, so if we do get hit with something like Duster, we can just special summon our Coral Triangle, and then we would negate the Harpy's Feather Duster. So to end the turn, we have a monster negate and protection, a spell and trap negate with Aqua Argonaut, and then we have our Ang Green for destruction and banish protection. And then also, they can only attack Argonaut, and she is a 4,300 attack, unaffected at that point. And then lastly, we do also have a copy of Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood to make sure our life points are much higher than our opponents if they try to combo off. So that is going to be a really good board to end on. And it just goes to show that if you build this deck correctly, you are still going to be able to make really powerful boards. Maybe not, 10 Omni negates and stuff like that, especially without having the Bahamut Shark anymore. But it's still a crazy board, and I would definitely place this more as a casual locals deck versus a regional YCS deck, just because of the strength of it anymore. But it is still powerful, and if people don't know how to play against it, it does come unexpected, and you can definitely steal the wins with it. But anyway, I love the deck. I love the art. I hope these combos and explanation of the cards helps out. If you guys have any more questions, or if you would like to see the Icejade variant or the Ice Barrier variant that I have been cooking up, make sure to comment down in the comment section down below. Let me know that you guys want to see that so that I can go ahead and make a video. Like I said, this video is originally a comment request from one of my viewers. Alrighty guys, so that's Marincess. That's going to be combo and explanation of what the cards do. Basically just to show you how to play the deck. Like if you've never played Marincess before, like I said, I would definitely rate this as more of like a casual fun deck rather than a meta relevant deck, especially with the loss of Bahamut Shark. But that doesn't mean that you can't play it and still get the win with it. I personally love the deck. That's why I still play it. That's why I'm still making the videos about it. It's a really fun deck. It's really my first Link deck that got me into playing Links. And yeah, I just got to carry it on with me, and we'll make sure that it stays relevant. And then, like I said, there are 2 other variants that I have thought about building. And if you would like to see either of those, make sure to let me know down in the comment section down below. I talk about them both in this video, and then I also talk about them in the deck list that is down in the comment section down below. And yeah, anyway, thanks guys. Love to hear from you. We'll catch you in the next one.